So, I know you're mad at some of the things that I've said about the presidential debate. Hogan Gidley is joining me now, former principal deputy press secretary at the White House to President Trump, now with the Center for Election Integrity at the America First Policy Institute. I don't believe it was a good night for the boss, Hogan. We may want to talk about Ole Miss football instead. Your thoughts after watching the debate?
Well, I don't think it changed anybody's mind.
No.
But think of it this way. There were two sets of expectations set for this debate. Kamala Harris needed to come out and tell us specifically what her plans are, how she's not to blame for the last 4 years, and how she's going to make your life better, even though she's been in charge of making your life worse. Okay? She did not do that. Donald Trump's expectation was he's going to come out and be so mean and so aggressive and call her names and be nasty. He did not do that. He defied expectations in a good way. She did not. So we still don't know what her quote-unquote plan is when she told us she was going to give us specifics. She didn't.
No, you're right about that. And let's be honest. I mean, America is most concerned about the economy. It's always the economy stupid, to use that famous quote. And the ABC moderator spent 7 whole minutes talking about the economy. And I think that's a massive miss. And, yeah, all the stories and tweets about ABC News helping Kamala Harris along the way, absolutely true. One of the worst moderated debates that I have ever seen. However, Donald Trump did himself no favors. His base is going to be there for him, but I don't think he brought anybody new to the party because he was angry. He was dark at times, and he fed into so many ridiculous conspiracy theories that he didn't really need to. Instead of falling for the bait, the traps that Vice President Harris laid out there for him, whether it be about rally size or January 6th and the election, he fell for those traps every single time. Every question, regardless of what it was, he could have turned back to the economy and demanded answers from Vice President Harris. He failed to do that.
Well, again, when you're having a situation where you're 3-1, right, you never know what you're going to do in those moments. No question, Donald Trump a lot of times was put on the defensive by the questions the moderators asked, the way they phrased it. They fact-checked him 5 times. They didn't fact-check her once. The fact checks of Donald Trump were all wrong. The things they said he was wrong about, they were wrong about. So, that's the playing field. But we knew that. There's nothing new about that. That's how the media acts. We know to this point, since Kamala Harris has been top of the ticket, she's received 100% positive news coverage by every available data and metric point. Donald Trump's been given 95% negative coverage.
Which was true during his entire presidency.
Exactly right. So he's used to it. The fact is, Kamala Harris did nothing to not just expand her base, but solidify her base. Because remember, if she has really been lying this entire time, her whole career, and she really does have all of these moderate positions, her staff would leave. They don't want any part of a non-progressive candidate. They signed up for someone who was going to, burn the country down, for heaven's sake. So she had a lot of opportunities that she missed. I think there were some things in that debate where Trump could have pointed out, obviously, some failings of Kamala Harris that he didn't do. But I think we level set, we keep going. And the fact that the poll numbers continue to move in Donald Trump's direction, it's proof positive that people do want to change. That New York Times poll that was so devastating for the left really showed, 63% of people want to change to turn the page from Joe Biden. 53% of those people think Donald Trump is the one to do that. Only 25 think it's Kamala Harris.
And those
she
are all
is
valid
moving
points.
in the wrong direction.
I think it'll be interesting to see what some of these poll numbers look like in 3 or 4 days. I mean, we immediately saw the drop in Truth Social stock prices. We saw the poly market betting rates drop in favor of Kamala Harris. I think those are 2 alarming early indicators. And look, the whole fact-checking thing from ABC News, it was I don't mind that from moderators if you're going to be fair and do it to both parties, to both sides. They did not, but it could have been and it should have been up to Donald Trump to fact-check Kamala Harris, and he failed to do that. I also think that he missed an opportunity to completely and outright say that he would not sign, that he would veto a national or federal abortion ban. That could have won him some points with female suburban voters. And I got to be honest, there may only be one thing that I agree with on this point. I thought Kamala Harris had a great answer with regards to Ukraine. And I think Donald Trump missed the boat on that one as well.
No, look, I think Donald Trump made the point. You guys caused that. He didn't do any of those things under me. He made that point. And also with the abortion debate, which is, I thought, Donald Trump's strongest moments, in fact, he pointed out that he gave it back to the states. There's no reason to talk about a fictitious bill. He pointed to Kamala Harris lying and pandering to the American people. She doesn't have the votes for something like that. So she's big and tough, like she's going to sign this big, abortion for all ban,
which will never
or abortion for all bill.
It's never going to happen in Congress.
It's not getting there.
Yeah,
right. And he said it's not getting there. Why would you work all that time for 4 years to get 3 Supreme Court justices to overturn Roe and send it back to the states? So the first time in 50 years, the people get to decide, which is the point he made, and then turn around and try to make a federal ban out of it. He did a really good job with that answer. And also, he pointed out the radical position from the left. He even tried to get her to answer, you tell me what your exceptions are. You tell me what time limit you have. She wouldn't say it because she knows it's up until the moment of birth. And then, by the way, what was the most infuriating of the whole thing was after he made that point, the quote-unquote moderator from ABC said, Mr. President, there's no state in the country that allows a botched abortion baby to die. Not only is that not true, there are 15 states plus the District of Columbia that allow that. Kamala Harris voted against a bill that would have protected those babies who survived botched abortions. And the very amendment they were talking about in Florida would allow for abortion all the way up until the 9th month. It is a completely radical position, and he did an outstanding job pointing out their position on that. I thought that was one of his strongest moments.
We're talking to Hogan Gidley, former principal deputy press secretary at the White House for President Trump, now the Center for Election Integrity at the America First Policy Institute. The moderators did drag Donald Trump into a conversation about whether or not he lost the election, about January 6th. These were all topics that I think are losing topics for Donald Trump in that particular setting, where perhaps they could have spent more time talking about the immigration policies of the Biden-Harris administration or about the economy of the last 4 years. But instead, I think about 20, 25 minutes by my count spent on those issues that really voters don't really care about. But when Donald Trump is talking about them, they hurt him and don't bring new people into the party. Your thoughts?
Right. Well, look, he was asked the questions, and Donald Trump doesn't shy away from not just his position, but answering the question. Politicians are adept usually at kind of tinkering around the edges and not really answering things. If you think you're going to get, a meticulous takedown of an opponent by Donald Trump, that's not how he debates. So it's just kind of funny to me to watch everyone go, wait, why didn't he say this or why didn't he say that? That's not how Donald Trump debates. He speaks more plainly so the American people get the point. So when he says he had the best economy in the world, it's true. When he says she's for abortion up until the moment of birth, it's true. When he says he works well with foreign leaders, there weren't wars breaking out all over the world, it's true. And on top of that, it's all very simple. Kamala Harris was asked right off the bat, can you tell people they're better off today than they were yesterday? And her response was, I was born into a middle-class household. What?
Right. I tweeted.
What does that mean?
I tweeted last night that after every single one of Kamala Harris's answers, which I'm not a conspiracist, but it seemed like she had questions, or at least her team had prepared her with answers to likely questions. Every response to every question she was asked, Donald Trump should have just turned to her and said, that was very well rehearsed, Kamala, but it's still BS.
Yeah. And that's the thing. A lot of people in the in the post-debate, viewership said, okay, she was fine the way she talked, but she didn't really tell me anything. She just kind of had those rehearsed, contrived, can-line stories that didn't really go anywhere that she tried to utilize to tell her positions. Also, here's another tell. After you do something like that, if you won, if Kamala Harris and her team felt like she won, and that was the end of it, and that was the period, and the exclamation point at the end of the sentence, you might drop and call it a day. Within minutes, she was like, oh, no, we need to have another debate. So before people are like, oh, that's because she thought she won. No. You don't hit a home run at the plate and then go, hey, can I have a do-over? Nope. You run the bases and go to the dugout.
That's one spin, or it could be, man, he did so bad. Let me just let him continue to implode. I get it. I tend to agree with you, but as poorly as I thought he did, and as many times as he took the bait, I might want to go after him one more time for a knockout punch. I don't know. I don't think this hurts Donald Trump's base. And I think it's still a very tight race that likely boils down to the state of Pennsylvania. But I don't think he brought anybody new to the party. I don't know that the debate won over any independent undecided voters. And I can't believe there are any undecided voters at this point in our life.
Well, so many people out there, as you saw in polling before, say they still want to learn more about Kamala Harris. They're only like 8% said we need to know more about Donald Trump.
Anything about
they got it.
Yeah, they don't know anything about our policies.
They got it. They don't know anything about Kamala Harris. And after that, 90 minutes of her talking with the rules cut in her favor, with the moderators clearly on her side, people still don't know what she believes on these things.
Can I tell you, Hogan, the most frustrating part to me, and this really is, it's partially the fault of Donald Trump and the way he put it, but one of the most frustrating things to me was the question on Obamacare. And his response that we have concepts of a bill. It's been 9 years, and this has frustrated me about the Republican Party since Barack Obama was in office. Where is the plan? If there are better plans, and I think there could be, I'm certainly not a healthcare expert by any means. And then where's the damn plan? We've had a decade to put one together. Where is the plan?
Well, and here's the initial response to that question. Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, the rest of the Democrats said, if you like your plan, you can keep it. That was a lie. They said your doctor, your health care would be cheaper. That's also a lie. In addition, there are still, 30 million people who don't have health care in this country? I thought Obamacare solved all that. So it's clearly got a lot of problems. People don't like the system. Kamala Harris talking about waiting for a doctor. We all know how that was. That's the way it is now. So I think there's a big part of that. And also you could have brought in the fact, I would have loved to have watched him say something to the effect of, I would even argue we don't have a health care problem in this country. We have a health problem in this country. The government and the FDA have been lying about different food preservatives and additives and all these things. That's why someone like RFK Jr., a lifelong Democrat, a Kennedy with a last name steeped in royalty in the Democrat Party, said, no, I'm not falling for that Democrat Party anymore that has been lying to us for this long about a whole host of things, up to and including how your health, dictates so much of your life. You could have gone that way too. A lot of things, when you're sitting on your couch, I'm sure we'll talk football because we always do. How many times you're like, the guy was open in the flat.
Run the damn ball, Lane.
It was a 6-yard curl, right there, right? When you're on the field and you get you get that shot from the referee's body cam, or you get a helmet cam from a quarterback, and you're like, well, I don't know if I'd have seen that. Yeah, I know. So in the time you're facing those arguments, how many times do I get off TV or off of, I'm doing some show with some jerk radio host, am I right? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, man, I should have said that.
Right.
I do it all the time.
All the time. Yeah,
not you.
No,
did I imply that was you? Oh, no, not you.
Of course not. That would be wrong. We're talking to Hogan Gidley here on the Scott Sands Show. Follow him on all the socials as well. One of my favorite people, former principal deputy White House press secretary for President Trump, now with the America First Policy Institute. Only thing I don't like about Hogan is he's an Ole Miss fan. Although the Rebels are looking pretty damn good. 130 points in 2 games. Lane Kiffin has got that offense going. I was not a Lane fan when he was Alabama's OC, but I kind of like Lane these days, and Ole Miss looks really good, even though, I mean, you got Wake Forest and Georgia Southern still to come on the schedule, so play a tough game, and then I'll decide.
Yeah, well, look, I'm telling you what's the problem with Alabama. What was it, South Florida they played last week?
Right.
It was tied, till like the fourth quarter, and I kept telling my friends, hey, you South Florida guys, you can't let Alabama hang around. It's a big mistake on y'all's part to let that team hang around. And sure enough, Alabama ended up winning in the last few seconds. Nice going, South Florida.
Beat themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, South Florida. Stop scheduling South Florida for Alabama. Needs to stay away from those games.
Look, when you bring in Oklahoma and Texas, right, you're going to have to make sure you have a few of those games that allow you to kind of get your feet under you, and that's what Ole Miss has done. But obviously, it gets progressively harder as the year goes on. Don't get me wrong. We got Georgia coming to town. I hate that we don't play Alabama this year or Auburn.
I know. That's a real shame. I'd like to see that. I think next year they may be on the schedule. Look, I think Georgia, Texas, and Ohio State are the 3 teams with the best chance to win a national championship, but Ole Miss is the sleeper team. I put some money on Ole Miss to win the title because I think that they could be the sleeper.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I've seen them play a few times, and we're always a little more realistic than a lot of other fans. But, look, I think he's built a good program. I think players want to come there. I think, he made that team. It was so funny when he actually took the job and everyone said, oh, he's going to leave in a year or 2 years. I'm like, fine, but he has to win first. So if he leaves us better off than when he found us, what am I complaining about? These coaches leave all the time, but he's actually been there longer than any other stint. Doesn't mean he wouldn't leave tomorrow, but the fact is players seem to have a good time. It's a good product to watch on the field. That's also, good for fans, right?
Absolutely.
If the team's boring, they're no good, what's the point? And so he's done a good job with the uniform changes we don't have a same uniform for a single game, and that's the gimmick for us. Obviously, Alabama hadn't changed their uniform since 1804,
right?
Which is great. I mean, they win titles, and that's good. But it's fun for us, and I think he put something out there that a lot of people like to watch, and we'll buy tickets for. I did see someone sent me a StubHub or something for Ole Miss Georgia. Nosebleeds right now are $1,400.
Wow, that's crazy.
I wouldn't pay $1,400 for season tickets.
No, yeah, but watch it from the couch
for one game. Yeah, one game. What are you, crazy?
Here's the deal, though, Hogan. This Saturday, keep an eye on Starkville. Our Toledo Rockets are coming down to play Mississippi State, and I think the Rockets, a little offensive-minded team from the MAC conference, will take down an SEC team.
I would love. Couldn't happen to a nicer program. Well, look at it. Mississippi State, please.
We'll do it. I love you. Great having you on. Have a good week. Try to get some rest after the debate now.
I will, buddy. Thanks so much. Enjoyed it.